Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we try to turn confusing corporate speak into plain English. Today we're diving into a fascinating update from BlueLinx's Holdings Incorporated, and let's just say their bylaws are getting a little shake-up that could change how their leaders are chosen. Stick around to find out who is calling the shots and how they plan to keep them there. And if you like digging into these company secrets, make sure you are subscribed and join our Discord community, linked in the description below. So what is the big news on February 3rd, 2026? The folks in charge over at BlueLinx's Holdings Incorporated, a company that deals in building products, made a pretty significant change. They decided to update their company rulebook, specifically their bylaws. Think of bylaws as the internal operating manual for a company, dictating how things like elections and director responsibilities work. This update we're looking at, it is all about how directors get elected and what happens if they don't perform as expected. It sounds a bit like a corporate reality show, doesn't it? Who gets voted in and what happens if they fall short? The core of this change is a new rule for electing directors. Previously, and in many companies still, directors might get elected if they just get more votes than anyone else, which is called a plurality. But now, BlueLinx is saying that in situations where there isn't a big fight or a lot of opposing candidates, each director needs to get what is called a majority of the votes cast. What does that mean in simpler terms? It means that if a director is running unopposed, for example, they can't just get a few votes and win. They need more than half of all the votes that people actually cast. This is a much higher bar and means they really need the confidence of the shareholders. Now, they've also put in a clause for when things get a bit more competitive. If there are multiple people running for a director spot, then the person who gets the most votes, even if it is not more than half, will win. This is still the more common way things work when there is a real race. So they're trying to ensure that when it is quiet, directors have strong backing, but when it is a contest, the best candidate by volume of votes still wins. But here is where it gets really interesting and perhaps a bit more consequential. They've added something called a director resignation policy. What this means is, if a director is running for re-election and it is not a contested situation and they don't get that crucial majority of votes cast, they have to offer to resign. So they can't just ignore the fact that they didn't get enough support, they have to offer their resignation. Then a special committee within the board, the Nominating and Governance Committee, will look at this offer and make a recommendation to the whole board. They'll decide if the director should step down or if there is some other action to be taken. And finally, the full board gets the final say. They'll decide whether to accept that resignation, reject it, or do something else entirely. And critically, they have to tell everyone their decision within 90 days of the election results being finalized. This adds a layer of accountability. It means directors who aren't getting the backing they need will face consequences. And the company will be transparent about it. This could lead to more engaged directors who are more mindful of shareholder sentiment, or it could lead to directors being more cautious and less willing to take bold stances if they fear not getting that majority. Now, you might be wondering why this matters. Well, this change directly impacts who sits on the board of directors, the people who make the big decisions for BlueLinx's Holdings. It is a move towards greater shareholder power, especially when directors are not facing a challenger. It signals a desire for directors to have a clear mandate from the owners of the company. This amendment is filed as an exhibit, meaning it is a formal part of this report. It lays out the new rules in detail. It's not just a casual conversation, this is a formal change to how the company is governed. Looking at BlueLinx's Holdings Incorporated itself, they are a major distributor of building products. This means they supply lumber, building materials, and other related goods to construction companies and retailers. The health of the construction industry directly impacts their business, so any changes in that sector will ripple through to BlueLinx. And signing off on this report is C. Kelly Wall, who holds a pretty important position as Senior Vice President, Chief Financial Officer, and Treasurer. This tells us that the financial leadership is aware of and approving these governance changes. A CFO being involved suggests that they see this as a sound financial and governance practice. Now, let's think about what this actually means for the company's direction. By implementing this policy, BlueLinx's Holdings Incorporated is clearly signaling a commitment to stronger corporate governance and greater accountability from its board members. It reduces the likelihood of a director holding their position without the clear backing of a majority of shareholders. At least in uncontested elections, this can be seen as a positive step towards aligning the interests of management and shareholders. On the flip side, there is always a potential downside. In a highly competitive or rapidly changing industry, directors might become hesitant to make tough but necessary decisions if they worry about not securing that majority vote. This could slow down innovation or strategic shifts. The key will be how the board interprets and applies these new rules. Do they use it to genuinely hold underperforming directors accountable, or does it become a tool to entrench current leadership by making it harder for new voices to emerge, unless there is a strong contest? The real test will be in how this plays out in future elections. If directors start resigning or being pushed out due to lack of votes, it will confirm this is a significant shift in power. If, however, directors continue to win easily with majority support, then it proves these bylaws are simply formalizing good governance practices. In conclusion, BlueLinx's Holdings Incorporated seems to be prioritizing shareholder confidence and board accountability with this bylaw amendment. It is a smart move for transparency and good governance, but the company will need to be mindful of potential implications for director decision making and the agility of the board. Alright, that is our breakdown of BlueLinx's Holdings Incorporated's latest filing. What is your take on these new director election rules and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments if this analysis was valuable. Hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.